It's been a couple of weeks now since I last addressed you guys, maybe even a month. It's gone pretty quickly, although probably for you all in isolation, it's probably gone slowly. But I thought on the back of the FFA's announcement earlier today and the membership information I circulated to you all, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to again get in touch and give you the opportunity to ask me any questions you might have. Just to touch on the FFA announcement, we've been working closely with the FFA and with the other clubs and government and health advisors on what the likelihood is of us returning to the field in the next month. And as you would have seen from that announcement, that it's unlikely that we're going to be able to get back on the field in the next month to play matches. We are going to continue to monitor advice over the coming weeks, which may allow us to bring the players back training to prepare for a return to play. But at this stage, we've been given pretty clear advice. Assessment of when we may be able to resume. But importantly, I think the message that we want to get out there is that we are all committed to continuing to finish the season. Like I said in my last address to you guys, we've worked really hard as a club, and you guys have been amazing support throughout the year so far, and to get so close to more silverware for our great club, it's important that we finish the job off. And I know, talking with Steve and players over the last couple of weeks, they're all really keen to get back out there and finish the job off. So we'll work with the authorities over the next couple of weeks. We'll continue to take advice from health experts. We'll also be engaging with the FFA and grassroots football to see how that may impact some of the decisions we make around the A-League. But we are also a club that participates in many other competitions other than the A-League. So we have our NPL team who started the season off well, and they're also waiting to get back out in the field, as are our youth teams down to our under-13s. And they continue to work with Kelly Cross and his coaches through a virtual coaching setup that I believe is going very well. I'm talking with our academy parents and kids on Friday night, so I'll get more direct feedback from them as to how that's going. But for now, we're keeping strong as a club. We continue to really appreciate the support we get from the members. Like I said last time, really humbled by the response that we've had from members around their understanding of the situation. It's obviously not a situation that we had a lot of control over and definitely didn't welcome at the time. And as I said, really keen to get back out there and continue to play. So with that, I might start tackling some questions that have been sent across earlier today. There's some similar threads of questioning. The first one I'll tackle is season restart, like I just have it at a high level. James Coates, who's a 15-year member, said, "G'day, Danny. Thank you for taking the time to keep us informed. Much appreciated. When we'll be able to watch our team again, and under what conditions?" Look, I think, James, it's a challenging question for us at the moment, and it has a couple of different complications. From a holistic perspective, like I said, we want to get out and play, and we want to complete the season. There are some complications that our sport have that the NRL and the AFL don't have, in that they're very much entrenched in their season. Their playing contracts are very much on foot. The nature of A-League contracts are that they lapse on May 31. So given the fact we're not going to be on the field by May 31, there's going to be some work done behind the scenes with PFA to try and work out what we do with extending contracts and looking at how we might be able to negotiate different terms with a playing group to support the completion of the season post the May 31 date. So that's a challenge that we have that other codes don't have. The NRL and AFL players are contracted through to the end of October. So it doesn't really matter when they restart. For us, we do have some added complications with that. But like I said, the intention is to reassess it at the end of May. In the meantime, deal with the necessary protocols that are required to get us back on the field training in the first instance, and playing matches behind closed doors in the second instance. The reality is, around matches being played in front of live audiences in the stadium, that's going to be a challenge for the next couple of months. Our advice is that the likelihood is that we won't be able to play in front of live stadiums probably till the back end of this year. So those things need to be factored into how we manage the restart of the competition and completion of the last 5 rounds and final series. Mahamunia has asked, how do you think the FFA will salvage 1920 season? Well, like I said, I think the motivation is there for everyone to complete it. Notwithstanding the complications, the FFA have remained very clear with us, and I think all clubs are consistent with that we want to hurry up and get this absence from the game over with and back out there when it's safe to do so. Peter Blahos has got 3 questions. When do you think the A-League will resume? I think I've answered that. Will the rest of the 1920 be completed? I think I've answered that. And can we begin brand new 2021 season fresh and running full steam in October, November? Yeah, look, that's a really good question. One we've been toying up certain scenarios. Obviously, when you go through these things, you've got to plan for various different outcomes, and we're looking at whether or not we complete the season in June, July, August. What does that mean then for our players? Do we send them back on another break and then bring them back to start the season around the regular time that we would start it? If we've got to play behind closed doors, does it mean we push the season back a bit further to ensure that we open the season with open stadiums, to ensure that members get to attend all matches in the 2021 season? So those things are being worked through at the moment, and unfortunately you can't plan for those with any degree of certainty, because we're still trying to work out what might play out over the next month or two, and therefore impact the contractual obligations players have to clubs and clubs have as vice versa, and then what we'll then need to do in terms of taking the time to complete the season, complete the final series, potentially send players off on a break again, and then recommence a pre-season later in the year. Dan Shaw, 8-year member. If the NRL resumes on May 28, are we making plans to resume on the same date too? The answer to that is no. We are not planning to resume on May 28. Our advice is that there's still a significant amount of work to do in order to go back with a degree of certainty around the health and well-being of our players, coaches and staff. And we won't compromise that. We've said that from the beginning. We also have the added complication of the issues around our player contracts. So I think that's something that we're going to need to work through. But it's not to say that it may be too much later than the 28th of May, but our next assessment date formally will be the 31st of May or later in May. But we will take the next 4 weeks, 6 weeks, as it may be, to continue to take advice and work through the different scenarios. If it's safe for them and their New Zealand team can travel to Australia, I sincerely hope the A-League and FFA have undertaken similar work to finish the season off. Yeah, look, we've been doing the same thing. We've been working with government. We've been working with both the Australian and New Zealand governments around the feasibility of getting the Wellington Phoenix over to Australia to complete the season. So that's definitely a factor for us in how we go about recommencing the season. If borders don't open by May 28 and we're unable to get the Phoenix in, well, that compromises our ability to complete the season. So those things also need to be worked through. In terms of there's 2 more on restart here. Sorry, Stephen Carberry. What impact will the deferred rugby league season have on commencement of the 2021 A-League season? Look, I think there's plenty of variables to that question in the sense we're unsure how long the NRL is going to go for. We're unsure what they're going to do in terms of how they deliver the rest of their season, whether that be in what they've talked about is hubs in 2 cities, which would put a strain on field availability. We're confident, though, with Sydney, there are enough fields in order to work with the NRL. From what we're understanding, they're heavily focused on Bank West and ANZ Stadium as 2 venues to use on a more regular basis. Obviously, that won't impact us, so we're confident that Jubilee and Leichhardt are going to be available for us to start whenever we're ready. And Joanne Aguirre, another 15-year member, if and when the games get going again behind closed doors, can you please advise how the Sydney FC members will be able to watch these games live, especially if we don't have access to Fox Sports? Will the games be available on free-to-air or free streaming? The broadcast conversation is one you've probably all read about in the press, and it is another complication of where things are at for our code in resuming. We're currently under contract with Fox Sports. We've enjoyed a 15-year relationship with them, and And for all intents and purposes, we look forward to continuing that for the next 3 years. There are also the contracts in place with Telstra around our live streaming of matches on the app, the Telstra app, so open to Telstra customers and subscription. So there are means to do that. There's KO as well that will be broadcasting matches under the current contract. We're in the process of talking to those guys around what we might be able to do for members to ensure that we're able to show the matches, I should say, if for whatever reason we can't allow our members access to the ground. So they are all things that we're working on behind the scenes to ensure that we take care of our members and give them the best access we can under the restrictions that may be in place at the time at which the competition resumes. So going back to membership, we've had a number of questions around what it means to refunds on membership and the like. And I think, like I said in the last address, our intention is to deliver member benefits as best we can. We delivered the vast majority of those benefits, but we also recognise that we haven't delivered all of them. And we treat our, I suppose, ability to deliver value for money to our members seriously. And we're going to continue to address that over the coming weeks as we get a better feel for when we may be able to return and what it might look like when we return. So rest assured, we've done a lot of work and continue to do a lot of work on getting things ready for when we have some concrete advice as to when we're going to resume and what that's going to look like. We'll be able to then roll out that information to your members to ensure that you're comfortable with where things have landed for the 19-20 season and your investment in your memberships. Colin Dowling, very similar question. Will you refund the gains we did not see? Like I said, we're going to be looking at ways in which we can make good to all member benefits that haven't been delivered in the 19-20 season, if that happens to be the case. Stuart Miller, how important is continuing to pay our membership fees in making a difference? Well, look, it's imperative. Our business right now is, like many businesses in Australia, is under severe financial stress. Make no bones about that. We are in the process of working with our staff, players, coaches on what the next couple of months look like. Our revenues, our core revenues out of our broadcast partnership at the moment are frozen. We're looking to ensure that they continue. But in terms of the usual revenues that we would generate through our normal course of business, like match day benefits and those things that we generate through attendance, sponsorship, you name it, so many of those revenue streams have been affected. Our ability to continue to operate and remain solvent is our number one priority, and obviously membership payments that have been made are critical to that. So like I said at the start, it's a real important element of our survival, and we appreciate what our members are doing for us through this period. Is it true? Oh, Stuart Miller, is it true they are on you? No, Stuart, I think that you're a wind-up. That's a wind-up. What is happening for monthly payments going forward after May? Can you please shed any light on that? My understanding, that's from Rick Meneguzzo. Rick, this month is the last month, or the May month is the last one of those monthly instalments. We are working on a rollover offer to members that we will put in place for the back end of May, as we do every other year. We're hoping by then we'll have some clarity on what the new season looks like and what the completion of this season looks like, which we'll then communicate at that time. We will obviously not roll over memberships without any clarity on that. I think that's not something we intend to do. We will definitely be coming back to members with communications before rolling anything over, because I think we all accept this is a pretty unique season, both the one we're currently in and the one we're about to go into, and we're going to need more information before we're able to give you some real concrete advice as to what memberships can look like going into the next season. You may have seen in my address that we had some updates this week from the state government around progress at Moorpark, and it's pleasing to know that the construction company John Holland is in there putting down the pilings and really moving full steam ahead. The Premier, Brett Emerton, has made it clear that construction and government-run projects are going to be all run full steam ahead, which is fantastic for us to ensure that that stadium is still delivered on the timeline that they have promised us. Vaughan Moutry, a 5-year member, said, very exciting that the new stadium is beginning construction. Are there any current drawings, plans, impressions that you can share with members to demonstrate the new facilities? The answer to that, short answer is no. The longer answer is I think it's the second week of May. We have a consultation process with both the architects and the construction company and the government, Infrastructure New South Wales, on what the current plans look like, asking for our feedback. We'll provide feedback across all the different departments of our club, including, importantly, the membership department, but equally Steve Corica and the football department, ensuring that the stadium design continues to meet the input that we gave back at the original stage of development. So I'm hoping after that meeting we should have some drawings and some renders that we'll be able to share with you guys to bring you along the journey, because I think it's an important part of ensuring that we're all excited about what the new stadium will bring. Daniel Bly, an 8-year member, what's going on with the LED curtain on the stadium? That was a key component to supporting the knockdown rebuild, and now I think it should be a non-negotiable for the club. Yeah, look, I think I probably made my position pretty clear in the media, and probably didn't make too many friends at the government or the SCG Trust with my comments, but I think it was an important one for us to really stick to. It's fan experience is critical to the success of our match day experience, and having full stadiums is a really really key part of that. And we experienced that both at Leichhardt and Jubilee, where having those smaller grounds being largely full has really helped, I think, the fan experience. And having a mechanism to decrease the size of the stadium is something that I think is really critical for us when we move back. So we'll be continuing to push for that. We still don't have any more clarity. We may get that in the next couple of weeks as we go through the consultation process with Infrastructure New South Wales. But I think what may work in our favour is that if we have to go back with some social distancing, then having a big stadium to spread everyone out to get you all in may be a benefit. But let's hope we're not still worrying about that in 2022. Jamie Kingsman, 13-year member. Hi, Danny. Hope you and the team are well in the pandemic. Thanks, Jamie. Would the club think about staying at Cogra rather than moving back to the SFS, given that is more family friendly and boutique, or would they ever think about building their own? Look, in an ideal world, a club owning their own stadium would be fantastic. The reality is, of stadium economics in Australia, that's just not practical or feasible. What is, I suppose, fact is that we are in the middle of a venue hire agreement with the Sydney Football Stadium and SCG Trust, where we do have a number of years left on that we need to fulfil. So I've sort of made this publicly clear before. We will be moving back to Moorpark. We will, at any time, like you would in any business, a real critical decision is where we would be based for the long term. And the beauty of us having a venue hire agreement that straddles the dislocation process period and the new stadium is that we'll get a bunch of seasons in that new stadium to assess how practical and how valuable it is to that fan experience that's so important to us. And that will enable us to make some informed decisions at that point in time. But look, again, from my perspective, Moorpark is the home of our club. It's been the home of our club since its inception. Yes, we're enjoying some time away from that out in the community, which I think has been fantastic, and really applaud all of the members and supporters that have come out to support the team over the 2 seasons we've been out so far. And the fact that we've had unprecedented success on the field is a testament to how well that support's allowed the team to perform. So, thank you for that. John Marshall, 11-year member. If this lockdown hadn't arisen, my question would be, is it possible to get more than 3 matches per season at Leichhardt? Question, yes, it is possible. Jubilee as our main base is understandable given the earlier expansion threat, but 13 there, 10 A-League and 3 ACL does leave opportunities for more rotation in the West and potentially Brookvale too. Yeah, the answer to that is absolutely. We are, after our first season and a half, or season and 4/5, we've definitely learned a lot. We've definitely got better insight into what our members want. Our research that we conduct at the end of the season gives us more insights to enable us to build a schedule that will deliver the best access to all of our members and the best experience for them on a game day. Obviously you've got different amenities at all those stadiums that you mentioned, and ensuring that not only the geography of our membership is looked after, but also the amenities when they come to the game. So we're definitely exploring playing games up on the Northern Beaches. We're definitely exploring more games in the Inner West, and equally continuing to take games to the St George and Sutherland areas as we have the last couple of years. So definitely looking at doing that. Scott Patton, to your member, how are you, Scott? Are we for realigning the seasons with Asia and the States to a calendar year? I don't think so. I think we've forged out a calendar of football across the summer that has now become part of every football fan's summer period, school holidays and the like. Is it perfect? No. Would moving to the calendar year help in some ways? Yes, it would align with the rest of the football community playing the game, but it would also put us in a very competitive marketplace for content. And thinking about wedging 6 A-League matches onto the same weekend as all the AFL, rugby and AFL content would really compromise, I think, a lot of the engagement in our game. But look, again, with all these things, these type of pandemics, they really allow you the opportunity to assess where things are at and what's good about your game, and whether or not you're able to maybe reset things and recalibrate in order to go forward in a better position. So I'd never say never, but I think at the moment we're pretty much wed to the summer calendar. So moving to some questions that have come along sort of live as we've been on Facebook Live, is how will this impact Champions League? Good question. Champions League's still an extremely important part of our plans. To give you an update on where things are at with that, the AFC wrote to the FFA and subsequently to the clubs who are participating to propose a potential solution around playing the ACL in one venue in August. So to put it in sort of a tournament environment, say in Japan, as an example, where all of the Eastern Conference clubs would go and play there. The groups would finish the group stage over the course of a couple of week period, culminating in a round of 16, which would then see us effectively have the ACL up to date, because the round of 16 was scheduled for June. The quarters were not scheduled to start until September, October anyway. So by completing the group stages and the round of 16 in one venue in 1 month, or even a couple of weeks, would probably be a practical way of going about it. The challenge with that is whether or not the borders are open by then, in order for us to travel to that venue, whether or not we're able to get our players back training and preparing properly to give a good account of ourselves in that tournament if it was to start in August. So that's the latest. We haven't heard if that's been confirmed yet, but we were comfortable with that proposition, subject to a bunch of those caveats. What's the club's take on the Foxtel situation? The future of the league seems a little up in the air. Would be good to understand your thinking on the matter. Look, as far as we're concerned, we have a contract with Foxtel, like I said earlier, one that we've enjoyed the benefit of for the last 15 years of our competition, and I think we definitely need to respect the fact that our partners are equally going through challenging times, and like our membership have been very supportive of us, I think we've got to be a supportive partner to our broadcast partner, and I'm sure you can all appreciate Foxtel's business, like many others out there in the community, are struggling, and we've got to try and do our best to work with them to ensure that they're around for the future to support our game, and we're equally around to support them. So at this stage, we're confident that the future is bright. We'll address whatever the outcome is, and I'm sure football, like it always does, will come out the other side in a position of strength, and we'll deal with whatever the outcome proactively and protect our game. Katie Lofthouse. Hi, Danny. I hope we get to watch the Sky Blues again soon. So do I. I have a question. If the season doesn't finish, what happens with season tickets? Will we get a discount on season tickets for the new season? Yeah, look, Katie, I think I addressed this a little bit earlier, so hopefully maybe when you asked this question it was possibly before I addressed some of the member questions on the other side. But yeah, look, absolutely, we'll be working with our membership to ensure that whatever outcome we propose, it's one that we think is fair and recognises the commitment that you guys have made to support us, not only over the last 15 years, but equally through the troubling times that the current situation brings to bear. Matthew Pappas. Hi, Danny. Any update on the Centre of Excellence location? I can't publicly talk about the location, but what I can tell you is that we've made significant progress. I suppose the line I dropped into our the membership communication today was largely to give you guys some insight into the fact that we have got progress. We are now confident that we have a site locked away. We're confident that we're satisfying the Office of Sport's requirements for our funding to be released, which we've done. We have architects drawing up plans. We have concept drawings already that we're reviewing as a group, both from a administrative but importantly football department and academy perspective. So we don't have anything formally to announce yet because we're unable to announce it legally, but rest assured we are really progressing things. And the state government's willingness to really accelerate government-funded projects, particularly in construction, is something we think is working in our favour. And the Office of Sport and the government have been very supportive in the last couple of weeks in accelerating the position for our Centre of Excellence. So, yeah, some exciting times on both our facility projects, the stadium and the Centre of Excellence. So, exciting things to come. Kieran Darnley, I'd suspect we have now set another new record in terms of days as champions. Probably. Maybe not yet. Maybe not yet, because I think the grand final's mid-May, so we're still probably in cycle. We've definitely set record as time being champions of the A-League, W-League and National Youth League. So by winning all three at the one time, that made us the first, but now holding it for as long as we have. Definitely setting more records. Kevin, have you talked to any other overseas club CEOs from your connections working overseas and compared how they may be handling the situation? Thank you. Stay safe. It's interesting you should ask, Kevin. I'm lucky enough to be a part of an alumni of a group in the UK, or a global group of executives called the Leaders Under 40, and that organisation has set up a CEO link for alumni of that group to talk about their own challenges as it relates to COVID-19. And some of those guys are, example, Stacey Alister, who's the CEO of the US Open, USTA. There's 3 or 4 Premier League CEOs on that WhatsApp group. There's a bunch of Tour de France. There's PGA Tour golf CEOs. So there's about 40 of us in that group, and we're all exchanging ideas, challenges, and ways in which they're going through dealing with those. A lot of our challenges are consistent. A lot of them are very different, but it's been helpful for me to be able to learn and share with those guys, executives of that calibre, and pass some of that advice back into the FFA and my fellow CEOs in the A-League. What will happen with the league title? Ashley Williams. Ash, look, I think at this stage we're very confident that if the league doesn't restart, that we'll be given the due recognition that we deserve, and that is the Premier's plate. At least the consensus across the CEOs in the league and the owners is that there is no objection to that. I think it was clear that we have been far and away the best team in the competition thus far, and with the remaining matches and games we have in hand, it was clearly obvious that we were heading towards that silverware. And if, in the unfortunate circumstance that we're unable to get back out in the field, then I'm very confident that we'll be given the recognition we deserve. Kim Timmins, I remember you playing for Manly United. Absolute fun you were. Well, I'm glad, Kim. I'm glad I gave you some joy. You got a good memory because that was a long time ago. So anyway, Fahim Khan, give us a shout out, Danny. Well, there you go, Fahim. You're not Jude Dolan. Okay. Jeremy Butler, will you be running holiday clinics again soon? Look, our holiday clinics are hugely popular and very successful. Heading into the second term of school, we're confident from what we're hearing that, and you can see through the government announcements around students returning to school, that will allow us to restart a lot of our community programs, whether they restart during the term or whether they restart during the end of term 2 holidays. We're very confident that by that time our school holiday clinics will be up and running again, and our skills training programs that have been a huge success for us over the last 12 months will be back at a minimum by term 3, if not midway through term 2. So, but we'll continue to monitor the health advice, and we'll only bring those back if we feel the kids involved in those programs and our coaches are safe to do so. When will you be on the Sky Blue Stories podcast again? Yeah, Scott. You can't use this forum to paint me into a corner, mate. But I love what you guys are doing on Sky Blue Stories podcast. For those members that haven't tuned in, they've had some great people on there. Brosky, Terry McFlynn lately, really providing some interesting insights, and it's you guys doing a great job keeping our fans engaged over that time. Any thoughts or plans on a statue of the hashtag Brosk in bronze at the new stadium? Well, look, if there's going to be a bronze statue of someone at the new stadium, it'd have to be Brosky. So I'll put that on my list of things to raise in 2 weeks' time when we sit down with Infrastructure New South Wales. It may not be high on their list, but I'll put it on the radar. Where are we now? What do we got? This is from Katie. Thanks, Danny. I'll be keeping my membership for next season and onwards for the Sydney FC. Thanks, Katie. I appreciate your question earlier, and it's great to see that members like yourself will continue to support us. John Turner, is there a good chance the salary cap will reduce significantly next season? I think it's too early to say, John. We're in a process of trying to determine what the next season looks like. When we get a clear picture on what that looks like from a restart, what the restart looks like in terms of impacts on our revenues. One thing that I think has been fantastic with the PFA is, John Diddlutzer has always been very open and engaging, and the players genuinely understand the importance of having a healthy league and clubs to continue to provide them an opportunity to ply their trade in a professional environment. So, the players and the engagement with our players over the last 6 weeks has been phenomenal. They've been extremely understanding of the position the club's in. And I'm certain that wherever we land in the future, the players will definitely be a partner in whatever decision we make around adjustments to the regulations. Will the new stadium have safe standing? Ash Williams again. Yes. The answer is yes. The plans that we approved or had our input into originally did cater for 3,000 safe standing positions at the north end of the stadium. So we haven't been told that they haven't been included. The structure will be very similar to the Bankwest Stadium. The rake of the stadium will be identical to the Bankwest Stadium. So it should be a really great opportunity for the Cove to get together and make some noise when we get into that new stadium. Could the delay give us a test to try out a winter season? That's from Jose Diaz Camayo. Jose, look, I think I just answered that one previously. We at this stage, there's no intention to look at a winter season. Whether our season starts a little bit later due to completing this season and the final series and giving the requisite breaks and pre-season again, I think definitely those things will be on the table for consideration. Do I think it's likely? No, I really don't. I genuinely can't see us going back to a winter season anytime soon, if ever. But like with all things, you never say never. You have to address all those opportunities and ideas and test them and make some decisions that are in the best interest of a successful league moving forward. So look, I think that's sort of been beyond half hour. The questions are slowed up a little bit. So look, I just want to reiterate how grateful I am. I just came off a board meeting this afternoon and to reiterate thank you, their appreciation for the support that the members are giving. All of our board members obviously give up a huge amount of their own personal time to contribute to the club, but they also realise how important it is for our club to function with a membership base so loyal and supportive as you guys. So on their behalf, I wanted to pass on their thanks. But look, we're going to continue to engage, and Dave Warner and the communications team at the club are doing their best to provide you with as much content, both past and present, to keep your appetite for our club and the game strong. We're going to need it more than ever when we get back on the pitch. So again, I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of all of the club, myself, the board, Scott Barlow, and all of our staff, coaches, and players. Thank you very much, and we'll be in touch again soon.